this is just a, this is one of the out-of-the-box templates for a communication site in SharePoint, and you guys probably have seen this already. And what I've done is I've configured site languages here for English, French, and German, so that's perfect. It seems like a good match for what you guys need. And I've set the base language as English. So one thing to remember is that the base language, the language that you use when you create the site, that is not possible to change, but all these other translations you can obviously add and remove as needed. So if I would like to add Italian here, I could do that easily. So this is pretty bare bones site. What I've done here is I've just created language variants for French and German, and for these I've I haven't really quality checked the translation here, but it seems okay. My school German is a little bit rusty, but it seems recognizable at least. So with English, I'll just start here by creating a new post. So I'll just add we'll just make this together. So I'll just make a new news post, and I'll just use the blank template. Hold on, I'll just have to move there's a little window here with your video, and I'll create a new post here. And I think we could use these. I've just pulled some content from one of your press releases. So I'll just use this one, and hold on, let's see. We can use this text. Let's change the layout a little bit. So we'll just add some space for a picture, maybe. Do it like this. We should have let's have a picture. Let's see if I can use this one. And let's just add an image. I should have one ready. And just let that load. So this is all familiar stuff for you guys, and I'll just add one more section here so we have a little bit more content, and we'll add this. So all this is from one of your press releases, and let's just do one more image just to get some more, a little bit more richness to the content, so it's not that bare bones. And let's get this one, and I'll just add that. Should update. All right. So, pretty basic article. We have some content, we have some images, we have some text, and it's a fine starting point. It's not the complete text of the press release, so just to start this, so we don't have to scroll and use too much time to build this. So as an author of content, I'm happy with this, and I figured this is good enough. So I'll just post this. And what's happening now is this content is now being published. And if you click up here in this language selector, you can see I only have English at the moment. And you guys have already, tested this before, and you know that, the process is quite tedious when you have to do translations. So, you create your article, you make the first draft, or make the final version, and then when you are ready, you add translations, and that is basically just a copy of the same content. It's just exact same content that you started with, the same language. It will be in English. For French, it will be in English. For German, and it will only say, remember to translate this. So what's happening now is that in the background, we have some logic that picks up that an article has been published, and it will actually create these language versions for us, and then we'll translate it. So while that is happening, we could just have a quick look at the sort of background information here. So, the point here is to write in our native language, or in the language we're most comfortable with, and to get our, translations, ready to go. Obviously, there's room here for doing some quality and QA, and make sure that the quality of the content is up to our standards. Get some native speakers to look over what is actually written, but it's certainly more efficient than having to make the whole translation yourself. Even if you're doing something like Google Translate, if I go back to this page, I would have to, cut out this section. Maybe I hit some character limit. I would repaste that. I would have to do, I would have to do this one again. If I actually have some accessibility texts on the images, I would have to translate those as well. So, a lot of manual steps to do translation of these pages. So let's have a look here and see if it has gotten the language variants. So you can see now we have drafts created. So what's happening now in the background is the logic is actually going through the different and creating the different language variants that I haven't created or manipulated myself. The one risk here, it's one common question is, what if I want to, take the French version and I want to do something particular with that? Maybe I want to change some names. I want to change some addresses. It could be company information that is relevant to an office that is in a different country than the main article. You can do that. And you can, once the initial translation has been done, if you continue working on that article and you do revisions on the main article, you won't overwrite what you have actually done in the language variant. So let's see if we if it's
just have a quick follow-up question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
It might be that these pages will be updated every now and then with new content or updated content. How do we make sure that the language versions are also up to date? Let's say we create a page about Microsoft Teams, and Teams releases new features every now and then. You want to add maybe new tips to the section. You want to add the new features, etc. So you want to make sure that the language versions are obviously always mirroring the main page.
Excellent question. And I'll try to answer that, and I'll actually show it to you. But I'll just show that we have the translations going here now. So now it's actually done its translation. So we have the English variant here, and we have the French variant, and then we have a German variant, hopefully down here. So it's I can send over these if you want to just quality check these articles here, but I think it would make more sense if you guys had some content that we could just try this out on, and I could do a translation and send that over to you. But to answer your question then, what if I go here to the English version and I want to add some more content, and I do want the other versions to be updated? Well, in the version of this product that we have at the moment, you have to to not come into a situation where you unwillingly overwrite work that has been done. This one actually requires you to just remove that version and just republish the main version. We can rewrite that so you could actually have maybe some metadata on the page that you just click and say, I want to, this is a major update, and I want to just overwrite all the versions. That is fully possible. But in this version, what I would do is I would, remove a version and I would update the main content. So we could do that just to see how that would work, and we could also see how it's not changing one of the versions I'm not removing. So this is the German version. So what if I go in here and I just delete this version? I remove this one, and I want to republish. So you can see now it's actually, I'm in the German front page, and I don't have that news post is temporarily gone. I go into the English version, and maybe I want to add a table. So let's add a table. And what I'm doing here is I'll just do this with Copilot. So I just paste in this text, and I want to have a table with the products mentioned in this article. So just for reference, maybe it's that could be useful. So let's grab this, and let's add the table to the main article. So I'll edit this one, and what I'll do is I'll just edit this portion here, and I'll add a table, and I'll actually just paste in the content that I had from over there. I'll remove these. I'll remove this row, and I think I can do that by doing one delete column. And let's make it a little bit nicer. So let's do maybe this style. Yeah. Okay, so that's perfect. So I'll just update the news. And obviously you could draft this on beforehand. And in this version, I could do the full draft, and then just before I'll just remove the other versions that I want to overwrite. But we could do a change where you have some metadata, or if you publish a major version, it just overwrites. Or maybe you just want to, for every instance, you want to overwrite the main article. So that's definitely possible to do. So while that is running, we'll just pick up on this again. So for the technical in the crowd here, what is happening is that we in the background use Azure Automation. For those of you who don't are familiar with that portion of Azure, it's essentially a way of running scripts or long-running operations in Azure. So something that is something like a PowerShell script can be packaged and secured and made available to run in the cloud. And that portion of our logic is calling out to Microsoft Azure OpenAI. So it's an OpenAI service that you create in Azure, and it's very familiar. The API, the data you get in return is very much aligned with what you would find maybe if you have used OpenAI platform. The main difference is that this is running in your tenant, and you have quite a bit of control over what kind of models you want to deploy out to your service and make available for different applications. So for this application, we do recommend having a model with quite a large context window. What that means is a model, a version of this that actually accepts quite a bit of text, like large documents. In my demo environment here, I actually have quite a small window. So even with a small window, you can have articles of a little bit of size before you reach the limit. So what happens after this one is that when you actually have the original article and you create language variants, all those variants are are exact copies of the original. So it's quite easy. You know that you have basically, if you want to translate into French and German from English, you will start out with 3 English articles, and you can just translate from English into the destination language for each variant. And then those variants are updated, and you can have those, remain as drafts. So they are actually not published. In what I'm showing you now, it's actually published just for ease of just to make the demo a little bit easier. So that is sort of the gist of it, and I'll just jump over to the demo so we can see if something has happened to this article where I've added a table. So this is the original. This is the main article in English, and then just to show you that we kept the French version. I did not delete the French version. So just jump into the French version, and you can see that it remains as it was. And then I go into the German version, which was deleted, which was removed, and has been updated with this table, with the description, etc. You can see that it didn't actually maintain the formatting here, and that's something that we'll look into. But the main content has been translated, and we didn't have to go into each different cell and translate individually, which really does make this quite a bit easier to maintain. And we will also see that since I've in this version published the article, if I go to the front page, this is the German version, I now again have my German article on the front page. So the different front pages of this multilingual intranet shows all the content that I've translated. So if for some reason I want to remove a translation fully possible as well. Yeah, so that was really a really quick run through how it works, how the experience is. It's definitely possible to add, notifications. So you get a notification once the translations have been done for, the kind of content I showed you here. It's quite fast. It will take a couple of minutes, but that delay might be long enough that, it's useful to get a notification when you can go in and review. Also, leaving the translated articles in draft mode is definitely possible, and it's even something I would recommend. So you can do a final quality assurance on those articles, have a person who is a native speaker just look over and see that there's no obvious mistakes, because this is it's using a large language model. And those of you who have tried it a little bit with, ChatGPT and those kinds of technologies know that there are times where it will be a little bit chatty or maybe change the context a little bit. So it's definitely useful to look over the content and do a quality assurance. And I'll just leave this one open, since I think a lot of you are German speaking in this call. Is that correct?
Yeah. Almost.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions and any things you guys are wondering about in this after this quick run through?
Is there any way to get step-by-step approval for the drafts? That, for example, the main page is created as draft, then the 2 pages with the translation are created, need to get approved by a native speaker, and then the creator of the page need to approve it at the end, like a workflow?
Absolutely, you can have approvals for the drafts.
So that
absolutely
just to prevent that the main page is published, but the drafts for the translations are not published because they are not approved yet. So there could be a workflow that it's just approved or published when all sites are approved. That could be possible.
Yeah. So you want to have a individual approval for each language variant, or you want to have a global, you want to approve all the pages in one go?
More in the workflow, that when the main page is created as a draft and not published yet, that the translation pages need to be approved by 2 different persons, for example, for native speakers, and then got back to the creator of the page, who then finally say, okay, drafts are approved but not published, and I will click on approved, and then all 3 pages are published at the same time.
That is absolutely possible. So I would model this using, so you have, if you try the out-of-the-box approvals, that is quite basic. It's you can name an approver, and that person has to, basically say this is good enough or, not approved. But if you use Power Automate, and you can just use the free version of Power Automate that is included with your licenses. That is definitely powerful enough to model the approval flow that you sort of sketch out here. And as you all know, probably these translation pages, if I go here and I have a little bit of a look in the background in the kitchen, that these translation pages are actually created as separate pages in this library. So essentially, when I have 2 translations, I do have 3 articles. So my translated articles are created in this. It is using these ISO-coded language code folders where the translations are actually created. So it would basically be like an approval of a regular article where you didn't have language variants. So yeah, definitely possible. That was a long answer. Apologize for that, but definitely possible. And you can have quite complicated approval flows if you so wish, where you know things go through to a native speaker and then back to the main author again for a final approval.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Would it be possible to have maybe another test with some, let's say, real content which we would have on a page that does not need to be now during this meeting, as I think time is a bit pressing, but maybe that would be really interesting if we could maybe send over a couple of text blocks to see what the result will be. To have a real life example.
Absolutely, I would absolutely appreciate that, and I will just I can translate those, and I can export it and have you guys have a look at the quality of those translations.
What about PDF files, for example? If there are shortcuts to PDF files, can the PDF files also be translated automatically and published or saved in the SharePoint pages?
If the original file is a PDF file, this solution wouldn't handle that. It wouldn't change the content of the PDF file. What I do know that is we have quite a few customers who have maybe steering systems in SharePoint. What they do have then is Word files, which are the originals, where a smaller group of authors, create the content. These are our processes, these are our guidelines, and those processes are then approved. And on approval, it's one generates a PDF file that is dropped into a common library that is accessible and readable for everyone in the company. And if you did something like that, you could make multiple translations of the PDF file upon creation. But if you have a PDF file as a starting point, at least this solution wouldn't handle translation of that file. A great question, by the way.
Thanks.
Quick follow-up question, because we will most probably have user guides on this SharePoint page when it comes to how to use Teams, how to use forms, planner, etc. Those user guides will be the PDFs, as Kevin mentioned. Could also be PowerPoints, obviously. Do you see any use case which could actually enable this translation when it comes to this, or is this really purely SharePoint internally based?
This is mostly for SharePoint, and one of the reasons for that is that SharePoint Pages is using it basically is storing all of this content as raw HTML, which makes it very cumbersome to translate using each individual part, both as a person but also just using scripts. But if we're talking about something like PDFs, let's see if this is a demo tenant, by the way. I'll just see if I see that we are on time, so if anyone has to leave, I fully understand. I'll just see if I had some content here, and let's see this one. This is a Word file though, and this is actually in this is not in. Let's just write some text here. This is some text in a Word file. So what is possible in Word, and this goes for all the different Office products, is to have you can actually do translations here. So, and this is Norwegian, and I apologize for that. So, but you can recognize the icon here, and it says translate. And if I go in here, I can actually translate the whole document. So translate document, and this goes for all the Office products. So here I can translate from, and this is English, and I can translate to, maybe I should do this in and this is obviously in Norwegian as well. It's Tysk, I think. Let's see. There we go. So that's German. And I'll just do a translation here. And this is a very, very simple demo, but this is built into each of the Office products. So you can actually, if you have a master file, a master document, you can do that, use that to do machine translated versions. And you can actually save those and you can continue working on those. That's very similar to what I've done for SharePoint, but in SharePoint, you don't have that option, which is one of the use cases for this product.